I feel very blessed to have had the opportunity to spend 5 weeks adventuring around New Zealand with my son. We toured a lot of Lord of the Rings film location sites, checked out the local native and introduced plants, did a lot of hiking, camping, and even some zip lining.
Gotcha, come on in.
We did a canopy tour at Rotorua, which was really more about flying through the trees than learning about the native plants, but it was sure a lot of fun.
I know some people love it, some people don't. Sit back, relax, there we go.
We also learned a little bit about the kiwis and other native birds that are endangered in the country.
And you made it, nicely done.
I especially enjoyed all the tree ferns that are so abundant in New Zealand.
Right.
One of the things I enjoyed the most was simply identifying as many native and introduced species of plants as I could everywhere we went.
Oh, nice quick trip there, Tommy. That was awesome. Oh, yeah.
While in Rotorua, we also toured a Maori village that is built among the thermal features. It's kind of like visiting Yellowstone National Park, except that the people live right there around the thermal features and even cook their food in the hot water. We also enjoyed the many public walking tracks in the area, and also just hanging out and watching the local wildlife. One of the best parts about the Rotorua area was hiking the 15-kilometer Tarawera Trail out to Hotwater Beach for an overnight camping trip. We spent about 2 full weeks on North Island and then rode the ferry over to South Island for more adventures. We spent a very memorable 3 days sea kayaking, camping, and hiking around Abel Tasman National Park. We were especially glad to get out and get away from it all and be miles away from anybody else in the area. We enjoyed doing a little bit of hiking and a little bit of paddling each day in the park. There are a crazy lot of cicadas in New Zealand. We camped at a couple of isolated beaches that were only accessible by water, and one of those we had all to ourselves, except for the local wildlife. we got a close-up look at a native wika bird, which I thought was pretty dang cool. We did see a few seals, but they pretty much just look like blobs on rocks. Back in town, we caught and ate a couple of introduced and invasive hedgehogs, which were astonishingly delicious. And pretty much everywhere we went turned into a running battle.
Oh.
Almost.
We also enjoyed hiking to and exploring the Fox River Caves on the west coast of South Island.
Ow! Oh, oh, ow! You losing your battery?
Later in our trip, we stumbled across an old piano out in the woods that made good creepy music for exploring dark caves. Nearby, we enjoyed touring the Pancake Rocks area and seeing the beautiful coast. Coming from the Rocky Mountains, we don't see the ocean very often, so this was a real treat. I especially enjoyed seeing all the wildflowers in New Zealand. I took hundreds of pictures and wrote a 6-page article about it for my website when I got home. One of the crazy things about New Zealand is that you can go from the semi-tropical coast up to Glaciers in just the span of a few miles. Here we hiked up to check out the Fox Glacier. We rented a car for about 8 days of our stay on South Island, and that was a real kick, driving on the opposite side and taking turns on the one-lane bridges. There are also a lot of sheep in New Zealand. Apparently not quite as many as there used to be, but still a lot of sheep, and they all seem to be going someplace. We also toured a lot of Lord of the Rings film location sites throughout both islands. Here, racing along at the same speed as the horses did in a battle scene, and trying on some costumes, a big improvement, I think. One of the highlights of our New Zealand adventure was touring Hobbiton, which was built for the original Lord of the Rings movies, then torn down and later rebuilt for the Hobbit movies, and then at that point kept as a tourist farm, which is very well named, for people to come by the busload and check out the little village of Hobbiton. The funny thing is that the Hobbit houses are just false fronts stuck in the side of the hill, so there is no interior. You open the door and it's just a couple of feet until you hit the dirt bank. But still, the architecture is fascinating and draws people from all over the world. I mean, I think this is the way people would really like to live if they had that choice in architecture. It inspired me to write an article called Hobbit Architecture Building the Soul that I posted on the website. There are a few actual buildings at Hobbiton, notably the Green Dragon Inn, where tourists can be farmed out of a few more dollars for a drink and a snack or a meal. And of course, no Lord of the Rings tour would be complete without a trip to Tongariro National Park to see Mount Doom, where we, of course, had a few more epic battles of our own. There are a number of Lord of the Rings film location sites scattered throughout the park, and Edwin gave me the site-by-site tour of what happened where. To wrap up our adventures, we went on several cave tours and got to see cool things like eels swimming in creeks inside caves, and got to see some cool formations in the Waitomo area. Lots of nice stalactites and stalagmites, and even some skeletons in the caves. And at the very end, we had the opportunity to rappel deep into a cave and explore that via ropes and trails and ladders, and that was pretty cool. And believe it or not, those are not actually stars in the sky we're looking at, but glowworms on the ceiling of the cave, which are really cool and just a little bit creepy. And that about wraps it up. Thanks for joining our adventure.